We ended up selling it for 6.2K after 3 days of having the car. What's going on, vlog? So we just sold the car. We bought it for 5, sold it for 6.2. He's just on his way back.
What he did right here would technically be illegal in just about any state. As a car dealer, I've seen YouTube has such a mixed bag when it comes to things that you should either follow or things that can potentially make you lose all of your money flipping cars. Today, you're going to follow along with me as I go through car flipping videos to see what's facts and what's BS. This should be fun.
Now, going back to the listing, the seller says $1,500, so it looks like there's already a super nice profit margin. Now, usually the number I want to be at when buying the vehicle is right here at this trade-in tab. Now, this trade-in value is roughly what a dealer is going to give you if you were to go trade in your car to dealership. Now, it may not be 100% accurate on what the dealer will pay, but as a rule of thumb for me personally, I always try to pay at or less of this trade-in value when I'm looking for a car to flip.
Okay, so this part is actually a key point I gotta hit because so many people actually ask me about this when it comes to what price they should even be trying to buy their cars at. A lot of people online say things like that, just try to buy it for the trade-in value for Kelley Blue Book or for Carfax. First of all, the trade-in tab could just potentially be completely off. It could either be overshooting or undershooting what the actual car's value is. And then along with that, it's not going to take into account the amount of things that that car might need before it gets to being ready for sale. The best way to do it is to look at what you're going to sell the car for and then think about how much profit you want to make off the car, and that ending number is the amount that you want to buy it for. So let's say if you want to sell a car for $3,000 and you want to make $1,000 off of it, then you know that you shouldn't be over $2,000, not only for the amount that you're buying the car for, but for the expenses that you're putting in to actually make it ready for sale too.
Now, what I'll usually do before I make a 100% commitment is I ask, do you have any wiggle room on the price? Or are you 100% firm on the price? By asking that, you can get an idea if the seller is going to be able to be negotiated with. So some people get kind of weird or offended if you ask them if they'll take a lower price than what they have listed. So this is a really good way of just feeling out the seller. Now, one thing you really never want to do is message someone and say, will you take $1,000 or will you take $2,000?
Yeah, so this is 100% accurate. You got to follow this. So there's plenty of people, especially me, you know, being a car dealer, when I'm selling a car, I'd say probably half the people hitting me up are doing it in this dumb way, just asking me, oh yeah, will you take 1,000, will you take 1,500, and trying to lowball me right off the jump. If you're gonna lowball someone, at least wait until you're getting there to actually put on that offer, or if anything, ask a couple of questions beforehand. Let's say if it is going to be some long commute you have to take before you get there.
All in all, this Highlander was much worse than I thought. The exterior needed some love, the interior needed a lot of love, the engine needed some love, the AC needed work, needed a new tire, also needed new brakes, had an oil leak. Needless to say, this thing needed a lot of work. Although I'm pretty good at expecting a car, there's always the unforeseeables.
Wow, okay, so yeah, this needs a lot of work. So let's just see really quick how much he's going to try to offer this guy, because with that much he has to do, I'd hope he's going to get it for like a really cheap price.
He went inside, and a minute later he walked out and said $1,200 and it's yours. I remember that big profit margin, and for what these things sell at, I knew this was still a pretty good deal considering it had all these issues.
Okay, so I mean $1,200, that's not too bad for this, but really it's going to depend on, again, how much he sells it for at the end of all this and how much work he has to put in to get it ready for sale, because again, that was a lot of stuff that he said was wrong with this car.
So with a total amount invested of $1,883 and a sale price of $4,250, we made a profit of $2,367. Not too bad at all. And that puts us at a solid 21 hours for the total amount of time invested in this thing.
Okay, so a lot to say here. I mean, realistically, if you're just doing this as a side hustle thing and you're only going to be flipping a couple of cars in a year, maybe 2-3 cars in a year, then the amount of time that you're putting in doesn't matter too much. It still matters because you don't want to be working on a car so much that you might not have to. But if you're trying to scale up and do this as a full-time basis, this is where this part really comes into play, the amount of time that you're putting into everything. Because let's say, all right, he put in 20 hours of work to get that amount of profit, to get a little over $2,000 profit. Realistically, he probably could have just flipped one car that might have only needed like 5 hours of work, just doing detailing and maybe some small type of job, and then flipping another car and getting another 1,000, and possibly only being 10 hours tops into the job rather than being over 20 hours into the job with something like this and still only making $2,000. So overall, I love his channel. You know, he makes great videos and it's a great story just putting this all together. But realistically, if you were doing this as a business, I would try to make it a little bit more efficient.
Now, when you get an appointment set up to go test drive a car, make sure you bring with you an OBD scanner, which I have listed down below the ones that I like to use. Now, when you get there, it's always good to run the car for codes. The OBD port is underneath the dashboard typically to check to see if there's any fault codes, so that way you can see if there's anything that the seller's not telling you.
Okay, so first, yes, he's definitely right. You absolutely need an OBD scanner if you're going to check out any car, regardless if it's where you're going through private sale like this or if you're going through the auction. But one thing that he forgot to mention that I would say honestly is just as key as checking the engine light and checking the codes that's in the system is checking the I am readiness status. And honestly, I don't think enough people on YouTube that are flipping cars say this enough. But basically, if you do the check through I am readiness status, and if you see that there's any monitors are incomplete, let's say if it's a catalyst monitor, an EVAP monitor, or anything like that, that basically says that that monitor is not finished yet, and it's possible that there could be a code that's pending in the system that hasn't come up yet.
Now, for me, car flipping is all about research. You're trying to find the vehicle that makes the most sense for your skill set. And for me, mechanical stuff is easy enough and I know a lot about it, but detailing is my bread and butter and what I'm known for and what I'm really good at.
So that's actually a really good thing that he said. And I just want to kind of like expand on that a little bit more, because there's a lot of people that get into flipping cars or want to get into flipping cars and are a little discouraged because, let's say, all right, maybe they might not have the right knowledge for fixing a car, or maybe the right knowledge for painting a car or detailing. But realistically, you could be really good in one skill set and just go for cars that are more catered to that skill set rather than going for another skill set that you might have to go a little bit deeper into. So maybe you could go for a car like a lot of the ones that he shows in his channels that needs a big detailing job, and you might be to see that in the listing, or you might be to see that in the auction. So all that to say, if it's not where you have an exact skill set of someone else that's on YouTube, that's fine. You could always cater to what your skill set is and get cars that have problems related to that instead.
The end result was a mirror finish and a quality paint job that makes the car look like it was new and not over 30 years old.
Okay, so the rest of this video is more of like a how to do detailing on a car well, more than like getting deep into the specifics of flipping a car and stuff. But overall, great video. He's done some solid flips on his channel as well. Again, just going deep into the detailing part of things. But let's get on to one of these next videos right here, because I started to watch a little bit of this before and I found it to be pretty interesting and a couple of like pretty funny and interesting points that I had to make clear too.
Can we take it for a spin? We took the car for a spin. There's nothing wrong with it. The seats were a little bit ripped. Other than that, the car was in good shape. Oh, it was like fucking smoke and cock in here. It's got some...
I mean, that's definitely facts though. I mean, it's incredible to see just how bad people can keep their cars. Like, you can get into their cars and the stents will just smack you in the face the moment you close the door. And I mean, you could kind of see low-key from the guy that's driving the car. I mean, he's literally smoking on the side right there while the guy's checking out the car. So
has there been any accidents or anything like that?
No.
No?
Me and my father-in-law there are the only people who have owned it so far.
Oh, so it's been in the family. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Can I take it for a drive? All that?
Yeah, you mind just like taking around the lot?
Yeah, that's fine. We took it for a test drive. Now it's time to talk about the price. Take it for a spin around the lot here. Sweet.
okay, so really quick, I mean, the only bad thing I see here, I mean, he's asking the right questions and everything, but the fact that he's only taking it around the parking lot for a private sale car, I mean, I get it, the seller, he probably doesn't have the car registered. I don't think there's any plates on the car, so that's probably why he doesn't want to take it up through the street and everything. But I'm pretty sure you guys know, like, let's say if you only take a car around the lot, you're only going to test like the first couple of gears. I've seen cars that, you know, maybe the first 2 gears might be good, but maybe gear 4 or 5 or 3 or anything like that might be messed up. So at the very least, if I was gonna buy a car like that, I'd have to go even cheaper on the price, go even lower on the price when I'm buying it, to just account a little bit more for that unforeseeable thing of if there's possibly a transmission issue that might come up.
After listing it, I've never seen so many messages in my life. We ended up selling it for 6.2K after 3 days of having the car. What's going on, vlog? So we just sold the car. We bought it for 5, sold it for 6.2. He's just on his way back. Imagine he just blocks me and doesn't come. It's likely, you know, that's what happens on the market.
Okay, so a lot of points to be made here, but I'm gonna basically narrow it down to like 2 main ones. I'm pretty sure you guys might have seen, but what he did right here would technically be illegal. in just about any state, because it would basically be called title flipping. So most likely what he did, unless he had a dealer's license at this point, was buy the car, not sign the back of the title as the buyer of the car, and then let who's he's selling the car to later sign the title instead. With this, you could actually get into a lot of trouble. To be honest, I'm pretty sure I've seen something pop up on YouTube. I'm gonna put it on screen if so, but I'm pretty sure I've seen something with him saying that he's actually got in trouble doing the same thing in one of the past videos after this. There's a way that I actually teach that can give you a better option to actually even do things like getting into dealer auctions and getting your own dealer's license for a much cheaper price without even having like your own dealer lot and all that stuff. If you want access to that, just go to the link in the description below. And the next thing is really related to the amount of profit that he got based off of the amount of money that he invested. So making $1,200 in itself isn't bad in just a couple of days, but the fact that he had to invest $5,000 to make $1,200 isn't too good. Realistically, he could have potentially gotten a car for around $1,000 to $2,000 just to make that same profit and still put in around the same amount of work. But having all that said, realistically, I like what he's doing. The fact that, I mean, this kid is probably like 17 or 18, I'm pretty sure I've seen, and he's already flipping cars and doing different things like this. Like, I wish I was doing this stuff when I was his age. So much props to him. But that's everything. Subscribe for more about flipping cars, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.